On the first episode of 2026, we will be discussing booking agencies, their importance, and their influence on bands and artists. If this intrigues you, please stick around. This is All Gas, No Trash. My name's Adam. Welcome back to the program, and welcome to a brand new episode. And before we get underway, we do have to do the Game Rage No Curse Minute, where we kill the first 60 seconds of the program in order to play nice with the YouTube algorithm, with no cursing and no swearing whatsoever. First, I want to give a quick thanks to everybody that has been listening on RSS, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you've been listening. We sincerely appreciate it. Additionally, for all those that have been listening on YouTube and liking, commenting, and subscribing, we sincerely appreciate it. We are now at 141 subscribers. Thank you so much for contributing to that number. It means the world to us, and it keeps us motivated to continue making new episodes. And that'll be the Game Rage No Curse Minute. We do have to do an introduction for the episode. For those that may not know what a booking agency is, typically they are responsible for the negotiating on behalf of an artist or a band when it comes to performances or live events, whether that is a concert or playing festivals, things of that nature. And amongst some of the largest booking agencies that exist, you have William Morris Endeavor, you also have Wasserman, CAA, and a bevy of other booking agencies that are responsible for putting together tour dates, being in negotiations with promotions and different talent buyers across, numerous venues, and everything in between that encapsulates the role. And upon looking into the artists that I really enjoy, I found some interesting information, and if you've listened to past episodes, you may or may not have an idea of what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and get to the next segment. It's Tuesday morning, and you're scrolling through your feed on Instagram and happen to come across a Magdalena Bay post, which is announcing their US tour for Imaginal Disc. And attached to that tour is an artist named Sam Austins. Now, you may be familiar with him because he had a song called Seasons that went viral on TikTok and other social medias that people have been using on their reels and such. Anyways, this particular artist struck me as rather strange for this, US tour, because for the most part, I don't know if I would consider Sam Austins and Magdalena Bay comparable to one another in terms of genres, maybe loosely, but largely different, right? Well, as it turns out, I ended up looking into both artists' booking agency, and one of the things that I happened to find out is that Magdalena Bay has Wasserman as their booking agencies, one of the largest booking agencies in the United States and possibly the world. Funny enough, I look into Sam Austins, who also is in a similar situation where he is also being booked by Wasserman. So you have one instance with these two artists where they're both from the same booking agency and happen to be both on the same bill touring across the United States. Now, this is not just an isolated incident. This happens across numerous agencies and different artists, and I'll show you other examples. Someone that has recently broken out in 2025 is Jelly Haha in Southern California and just in the music world in general. Within the year of 2025, she simultaneously signed to a booking agency and also to a management group, which is called Loyalty Management. And if you checked out our previous episode called Jelly Haha Confirmed Theories, you will come to find out that Jelly Haha is going to be opening for Magdalena Bay for a date or a couple dates, if I'm not mistaken. But ultimately, illustrating my point further, beyond booking agencies, management can also play a role in contributing to the trajectory of an artist. And in the case of Jelly Haha, she is now, I'm not exactly sure how to phrase this, so I'm just going to say it the way I know how, which is essentially she's riding the coattails of Magdalena Bay, where her audience, maybe cross-pollination would probably be the more appropriate phrasing, or, well, I don't know. I don't know how to phrase it. But essentially, Magdalena Bay's audience is going to rub off on Jelly Haha and vice versa when they tour together, right? And it's because of the management group, Loyalty Management, that we get to see these two bands come together. And this to me makes a ton of sense, not only because they both make synth pop music, but also have a strangeness, outlandish appearance or style to their music, which just gels together, no pun intended. Beyond that, we also have Jelly Haha, who performed with Polo and Pan for a couple dates in 2025 as well, where she played in Texas and Atlanta, Georgia, which was rather surprising to see for somebody that is only really got the ball rolling, only really has gotten her footing within the last, 12 months or so. But because of being signed to UTA agency, we see someone like Jelly Haha is able to have an opportunity to play with a duo as large as Polo and Pan, only having just started her music career, only just having built traction herself through being featured on Spotify playlists, on different YouTube channels, in addition to having her music featured on Pitchfork and different music blogs, things like that. It raises the floor for the artist and it lowers the barrier to success, or at least that is my personal theory. And there are other examples to be made about booking agencies putting their artists together for bills. There is another booking agency called Paladin Artists that I came across because of a band named Nice, which is a local punk band that I discovered like 5 years ago. And for whatever reason, in the last couple months, I go on this website called Concert Archives. I'm not even sure how I came across it, but I just found it fascinating because I just wanted to see what kind of shows they were playing. Well, come to find out, looking through their numerous bills, that they have played with bands like GBH, Strawberry Fuzz, and another group called Slaughterhouse. And if you're not familiar with any of these artists, it's perfectly fine. I'm just doing this as an example for medium to small artists or bands. So when I go on the Paladin Artist website and I go to the roster page, I'm scrolling through looking at Nice's profile for whatever reason, and then I scroll further and I find Slaughterhouse and I find Strawberry Fuzz in addition to GBH. I'm like, wait a minute. So Nice has been touring with GBH, or they toured with GBH in the past, and they've also done shows with Slaughterhouse and Strawberry Fuzz. And I'm like, wait a minute. Is this just happening across the board, that I see this happening numerous times with different booking agencies? So then, of course, I look into this group that recently just got signed to a booking agency that you might know called Clarion, and they also are from Southern California, and they also went on a tour with a band called Mexican Slum Rats. Again, if you are not familiar with these bands, it doesn't matter, but if you want to look into them, go on their social media, follow them, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So because I follow both these bands, I found out that they also are part of the same booking agency called Bandit Booking. So it would be no surprise at this point that these two bands would be paired together. Of course, Clarion themselves have built a fan base and an audience for their music over the last 2 or 3 years, or probably closer to 2 years to be accurate. But yeah, it's just really interesting to see things like that pop up in numerous instances. Is it the gospel truth? No, I don't think that this always happens, but it happens enough times for me to, raise an eyebrow, to question things, to be inquisitive, to wonder, why do we have these things happen? Which leads me to my next segment. Ultimately, this brings me to the end game of the episode of why booking agencies ultimately matter in the landscape of music. For starters, I think the reason why you see a significant amount of the same artists or bands from the same roster of a booking agency is because the booking agencies want to double dip or even triple dip on their artists being featured on the same bill, as opposed to having a band from Wasserman or a band from William Morris Endeavor and a band from TBA. It likely won't happen because it just doesn't make sense for any of them to have different bands on the same bill, as opposed to just having three bands that are part of Wasserman Agency. And I do have a personal story to share about my one-time experience of trying to put a show together. And it was a band that I very much loved. When it came down to negotiating with the booking agency, I told them what I wanted in terms of the bill. It was three bands. The headlining band was the one that I really enjoyed. And in addition to the two other opening acts, which I also loved, but they were not part of the same booking agency, nor did they have a booking agency at that time. So when I brought it up to the booking agency, they told me that they wanted the fee raised for the price of tickets, and they also wanted some of their own artists put on the bill and the other two bands to basically be removed. So I don't know if that is the objective of the booking agency to do things like that, but judging by the previous examples that I've given, I can come up with so many more, but I only left it to a handful, the ones that might be pertinent or relevant to you for artists that you like, whether that's Clarion, Jelly Haha, Magdalena Bay, or Nice, or whoever it is. I wanted to give you examples that mean something to you. I didn't want to go through 10 or 20 different examples and then have essentially my message be watered down with having so many exhibits, I guess you could say. But getting back to my point, I think this is why things shake out the way they do for concerts, festivals, anything that has to do with live performances. Booking agencies have a large role to play, whether it's the examples that I already gave or my own personal experience of interacting with the booking agency. I feel like they play a large role in how things shake out ultimately. Whether that's the success of their own artists, allowing them to build up smaller artists that they just added to their agency with more established acts to cross-pollinate audiences within their own roster. That is essentially what they are doing. And in that sense, I feel like booking agencies kind of makes the world of music a little bit more boring and a little less spontaneous, because it is likely that you will never see two bands that you really enjoy on the same bill because they're part of two different booking agencies. And it just makes me like smaller independent venues and artists because of what could happen, as opposed to things being in a fixed line or fixed outcome. I don't know. Once you get to the upper echelon of music, from middle level artists onwards, things start to become a little bit more meticulous and measured, as opposed to local independent artists and venues. Anything could happen. Anything is on the table. But yeah, as I stated previously, the reason for the episode is to bring to you or make you more knowledgeable and paying attention to booking agencies, so you yourself can, make a prediction about what bands are going to play together based on what artists are featured on the same booking agency. So I don't know if that's anything that y'all look into, but that's something I like talking about. It makes music exciting for me to look into these things. And anyways, I don't know if this episode will be all that appealing, but I had to make it anyways for anybody that potentially is interested in this subject matter, whether they want to be involved in the music business or not, or just casual listening, whatever the case may be. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you all next time.